Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I'm excited for the individual I have on. He and I have recently gotten connected, and I'm excited to hear about his journey. And you'll be excited to hear about it as well. My good friend Thomas Blottenberger is joining me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, Thomas.
Thanks, Brian. Happy to be here.
I
Appreciate
guess
it.
the first thing I should ask you is you go by Thomas or Tom or both or what?
You know, both is fine. I really don't have a preference. Thomas is the business version, right? So it's like, okay, Tom or Thomas. I'm gonna put Thomas in my email and Thomas on my Instagram and stuff like that. But people can basically call me whatever they want. I really don't care.
Well, I'll call you
But thank you for
Thomas.
asking.
Yeah,
I
I'll call you
appreciate you
Thomas.
asking.
I've got a brother-in-law. His name is Christopher, and people ask him, Chris or Christopher. He prefers Christopher, and so it always cracks me up when people, when we meet people or he's introduced and people refer to him as Chris, and I go, oh, he doesn't like that. He likes
Yeah,
Christopher. But yeah, so I always want to make sure I'm
it's
respectful of that and ask.
It's
But
it's the illusion of control because whether I like Tom or Thomas, I didn't pick the name. So
right, facts. Facts. All right. Well, cool. Well, hey, let's dive in, man. Let's hear a little bit about your journey and about what you're doing now. And then obviously, this is a parenting podcast. I want to know about your family as
yeah,
well.
awesome. Yeah. Uh Man, short bio. So I've been a financial advisor. I've had a financial advisory practice for about 15 years. Um, I would work with people, manage money, and for the most part, I thought money was all about math, and then I realized, oh, it's like almost nothing about math. It's almost entirely emotions and perceptions and what you made up when you were a kid, about how you were raised, and what money meant when you were a kid, and all of those kind of things. So my practice started to take on more of a coaching element to it. And then sometime last year, I realized I can do both of these things, but they need to be separate. There has to be a very clear, hey, I can guide you around the money decisions when you're in a place of empowerment, but I can't mix them. The empowerment has to be kind of a first level conversation. It tends to be that men in particular, not so much women, but men in particular, when they're not in a place of empowerment and they're not operating from, a grounded, sense of self, they get really chaotic with money. And I've just noticed that for the last 15 years of being a practitioner and telling on myself, I was the same way. I was a do what I say, not what I do kind of person. And that's because money amplified my chaos, right? I really am clear more than anything, money is an energy or it's an energetic force.
Hmm.
So money is a an energy multiplier. If you're in chaos and you end up with a lot of money, you're going to be in more chaos. If you're grounded and you attract money, you're going to be more of a steward of it. And so I've watched that time and time again and how people operate with their money, myself as well. And then again, because it's a dad podcast, just the realization that most of us learn our money stories from our parents.
Mhm.
I picked up mine when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I was the only child, had a really nice house. My dad was a realtor, did really well, had owned his own real estate company. And then he made what he shares as ineffective investment or a bad investment and went from all the nice stuff and an only child getting everything I wanted to staying with my grandparents for a little while and the same room as my parents, not getting the stuff anymore. And I remembered I was a kid, right? So I remembered asking what's going on. And they said something to the effect of, we're having some difficulty, but it's a really good opportunity for you to learn how to be grateful because you've been kind of spoiled and you need to learn to, be happy with what you've got. Totally logical. Like it makes complete sense. My parents were awesome. And it's not like they were bad parents. They're great parents. That makes logical sense. But I heard you're not safe and what you have can be taken from you. So my winning strategy as an adult was every time I made a big commission check or revenue or any of that kind of stuff, I made sure to spend it before anyone else could take it from me. And that doesn't work really well. I mean, it worked well in the sense that I was lying and hiding it, but it didn't really work well as a place of integrity and authenticity to talk to clients about what they should do with their money while I was not doing any of what I was teaching them. I was just spending it all.
And
And that's my
what?
background. What direction would you like me to go? What else would you
Well,
like
tell me
to
about
know?
your family as well.
Oh, so I'm married. I've about 8 years now. Um, I have a 3.5-year-old daughter, and then I've got another daughter incubator.
Oh, all right. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
When's that one expected?
Sometime around June or July of next year.
Okay.
You know, I'm pretty sure they always have their own agenda
Right.
on when that actually happens, but
Right.
that's the
All
projection is
right.
somewhere in that ballpark.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
relatively new.
Very cool. So two girls,
Yeah.
or one on the way, I should say. But for your 3-year-old, um, how important is it for you, knowing what you know now, how important is it for you to teach her about uh, financial awareness, money?
Yeah. Well, super important, number one. But number two, you can't control if my story is uh, you know, clear, you can't control the lesson they're going to be taught. In other words, they'll choose the lesson. So my parents told me, "You've been spoiled. You need to be grateful." As a kid, I could have chose the lesson of okay, gratitude, right, and just been like a surfer bum and super happy, and like whatever. Instead, I went, "Oh, I'm not safe. I need to use what I've got before it's taken from me," and I went hyper productive, trying to like amass a lot of money so that I could enjoy it before someone took it from me. You can't control the lesson, but you can pay attention to and start to look at some of the signs of what you're teaching. Like, so for example, my daughter, 3.5, I've become much more aware of what she's learning from me. She goes, Daddy. I go, yeah, sweetheart. She goes, I want to go to Disney. I go, okay. She goes, go in your office and make money so you can take me to Disney. Right. And so it's just like, okay, so we've taught her. She's already at 3.5, picking up when daddy goes in his office. It's an effort to make money so that she can have things. Okay. Now I need to keep watching that, paying attention to it, seeing how it goes, seeing what she starts to say about that. Right. And that'll give me context clues as to what I'm teaching her. I think most of the time, I think most of the time we don't even realize what we think about money. And if we don't realize what we think about money, there's no way in hell we can teach kids to think about money. This is where, the parents will say money doesn't grow on trees. And it makes sense, but they won't even think through why they say that. What are they ultimately saying when they say that? What does a kid hear when they hear that? Right? Not that it's bad or good or right or wrong. It's just there's this starting to unpack this level of awareness when you're actually present to what you're communicating.
Yeah.
And that's the game, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think back to when I was a kid and uh I know that, you know, I wasn't spoiled, but I also didn't see my parents as I guess struggling. I guess we were just getting by. When I
Mhm.
think back now, I go, yeah, I guess we were just getting by. Uh, but I also remember certain points in my life that my dad would make references to saving my money. The stuff that I earned, whether it was allowance or, good grades, all those kinds of things, saving my money and not spending it. And I remember a time where we were driving, it was in our area in Central California. We're on the freeway, and there was this house that was way up on the hill. It was the only house up there. It was in this open land area. Like there was no other houses up there. It was like just a singular house just sitting on the top of this mountain. And my dad knew the guy that owned the house, knew who lived there, and I had pointed the house out, and my dad made reference to this individual and said, "Yeah, he owns like several of these properties in the
Mm.
city, and that's how he got his money." And he brought up, though, in that conversation, it's so funny that I remember this. He brought up in that conversation, though, that uh, he has that house and he has these properties because he saved his money. He wasn't out, he wasn't out partying, he wasn't out spending, buying frivolous things. He was meticulous about what he did with his money. And in saving it and investing in it and doing the things that he needed to do. And so he missed out on a lot of opportunities as a kid because he was doing these things as a kid to eventually get
Yeah.
to a point where he was at now, which was this big old house on the top of this mountain. And as a kid, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like
Right. Right.
not quite sure what that's going to get me, but I just remember thinking how cool it was that he lived up there. And then as I got older and started, paying my own bills and had money coming in, but I was paying my own bills and being and having these responsibilities, it brought back those memories of those times. And I go, this is what my dad was talking about: saving my
Hmm.
money, doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my money, not just blowing it, spending it on whatever I wanted. And so that way I'm able to take care of myself in the future. And now that I have a family, it's like the lessons that I instill in my boys about, what they do with their money and how they're spending it. And I even do it to this day. I mean, my boys are 27 and 24, and I'm still trying to talk to them about their money. Like, you need to make sure you're doing
Yeah.
this. You need to make sure like my younger son, he's getting married in March. And I'm like, are you sure you should be buying that right now? You need to be saving up, for you guys need to be planning to get your own apartment and all this kind of stuff. And you guys need to be, and he's like constantly reassuring me, Dad, we're good. We're fine. We're doing the right things. And it's okay. That's all I can do at this point. They're in their 20s. They're
Right.
like, I can't force them to do it. Right. My older
Yeah.
son is like, he's insane about his money. He's got tons of investments going. He works for Charles Schwab. I mean, he's got all
Mm.
the
Yeah.
licenses. He's got another one coming up soon. I mean, he's got everything in place, and he's smart with his money and watches what he spends. I mean, his car that he drives he drives a Tesla, and he bought it cash. I mean, all these types of things. Like, he is very, very meticulous about his money. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's through the lessons that I taught him as he was growing up, the right lessons that I taught him as he was growing up, or the wrong lessons that I taught him as he was growing
Well,
up.
you know what? See, this is where I think an opportunity for you, just in general, but also I think sometimes in the dad role, we go into coach mode versus curiosity mode sometimes. And it might be an opportunity for you to have a conversation with them and go, so what did you learn from me? What did you see that worked? How did you see that I showed up around money? What was your experience of me like as a kid when we talked about money? Did we talk about money? I mean, just start to get, I mean, when you have adult kids, you've already instilled things. Things have already happened. So the next step is now they're adults that are managing their lives, and you look at it and go, they seem like they're managing their lives really well. Now is an opportunity if you're curious, you don't have to be, right? But you can be curious about what do they actually learn? And just it's a kind of a cool, I've found that people that choose to do that, it's a cool reflective tool, right?
Right.
They get to get mirrored back to them what they actually what the lessons were. But it's also kind of a cool way to bridge this new hey, we're adults together now. You're still your son, but we're in the capacity of adults now and create connection in a way that sometimes like, hey, make sure you do this and make sure you do that. And you want to do this. I know, Dad, I know, right? That
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily create the same level of connection, just a possibility.
Yeah, no, it's something that I've thought about, and it's funny, through some of the men that I've coached in the past, and currently through their early parenting stages. I've told him, similar to what you're talking about. I've told him, listen, you want to get a real gauge on how you're doing as a dad, go ask your
Yeah.
kids. Go ask your kids, how am I
Uh-huh.
doing it? How am I doing as your dad? Is there things I need to work on? Or the things that I'm doing great? Or the things that I'm doing wrong? What can I do to improve in being your dad? And the same goes for our spouses. You want to be a great husband? Go to your wife and go, how can I improve as your husband?
Uh-huh.
And guess
Yeah.
what?
The only caveat with that is you actually have to be willing to take the
That's
feedback.
what I'm going to say. Guess what? They'll be honest. So you got to be willing to take whatever it is they're going to tell
Yeah,
you. And then
yeah,
and then use that. I mean, the only way we advance in life and really get better in life is through the lessons that we learn and the things that we are told, and we work at those things to improve the
yeah,
areas of our lives to help us get better. If you don't work on it, then yeah, you're not going to get better. But if your kid says, Dad, I don't like the fact when I come up to you and I need to ask you an important question, and you tell me in just a minute because you're busy on your phone or something, I need your attention, and I would like to have a little bit more understanding on how we communicate with each other and work together to get our our levels of communication in
yeah.
line. And so it's important. Yeah, I mean, that's something with my boys. I'd be interested to hear what they have to say. I will ask them. I'll be with both of them actually this weekend, so I'm actually going to ask them that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Um,
You're welcome.
yeah, when it comes to your coaching, now, what do you mean you coaching men and all that stuff? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, predominantly it's been kind of an interesting journey. I last year I've been coaching for a long time in my practice. I just didn't realize I was coaching. And then I had this moment of like, well, I kind of want to separate them. I want to have an actual coaching business specifically for this. It's been an interesting experimentation process, let's call it that. So initially I was coaching men and women, and then I was like, nope, that's not working. I think men specifically, this is my lane. Um, and partially because of the male female dynamic. I mean, there is
Right.
science behind this, the nature of men and the nature of women. A lot of times, the women I was coaching were talking about their men. What I've come to realize is if a man steps into power and leads effectively, the woman in his life will tend to follow because that's why she married him. She saw something. Most men tend to hide it after a while, or not most men, but when there's issues, it tends to be something usually related to that. But what I've noticed is a woman that levels up, if a man's still asleep and the woman levels up, she either like she cannot compel for the most part. She can't nag him, she can't mother him, she can't threaten him. Like there's almost nothing that she can do to get him to wake up. Her choices are to keep just leveling herself up and stay in the marriage and be okay with it or leave. And I think that's a big reason why there's like 70% of divorces initiated by women these days. Um, anyway, I digress. So I started coaching men, and it was just general coaching. And what I started to see in tandem with my financial business and coaching in general was this like when you described what you need to do, right? Be open to the feedback, that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of men who, by default, not intentionally, not punitively, but just kind of a subconscious routine struggle with the feedback because we've been taught our role is to provide.
Hmm.
And part of provide that I think we collapse and get construed is perform. So I'll do things I don't want to do. I'll build a life I don't actually really want. I'll acquiesce in certain ways, all in an effort to perform for acceptance. And when that is the operating system, it definitely was my operating system. I couldn't hear feedback because the feedback meant I'm not performing well enough. So then I would have to fight against the feedback to defend that I'm performing well enough. And the end result is I'd leave my partner, my parents, whoever I was doing it with, clients, I would leave them feeling unheard. And you can really only do that for so long before someone's going to be like, well, I don't really know what the point of this is. Um, and so my particular niche at this particular moment is helping men to tap into, since money is an energy, helping men tap into the masculine nature of money leadership so that they can end the money fights and the dynamics that happen at home when there's the power struggle around money. I used to, again, 15 years in finance, you'd so much I'd have couples come in and there's tension and difficulty, and the
Mm.
wife's like, "Well, I want to do da, da, blah blah blah," and then the husband passively aggressively goes, "Well, yeah, I mean, if that was a good idea, we would do that." Blah 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 blah. And they'd be millionaires, people with tons of money. And you're like, thought these people were supposed to be happy.
Mm.
Right. And it tends to be that high performing people that perform for the performance, not for purpose, not for drive, not for mission, but I do this because I'm supposed to do this because I was told I was supposed to do this. When they end up with more money, it tends to be more chaos. And then the person that usually gets the experience of that most directly is their partner.
Mm. Was there a, when you talk about that, I want to know from you in your
Mhm.
personal journey, was there like a pivotal moment that made you switch or kind of separate the two? What was a pivotal moment for you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, a pivotal moment for me. So there's two ways to answer that question. Let me make sure which one you want me to go. Like a personal story?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was the realization that wha- probably the biggest realization on that was my wife and I were having a conversation one day, and she became a stay-at-home mom, and I was very proud performance-wise that I was able to accomplish that. And what I thought was, okay, she's a stay-at-home mom. This is going to buy me unlimited gratitude because I created this, right? Ha ha! I've
Mm-hmm.
performed.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's your turn for your song and dance. Your turn. Your song and dance is respect. But really, what I meant by respect was just, appreciate and like, buy into my performance routine. And we're having a conversation one day, and I said something about, well, I'm the one who provided this lifestyle. I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who created where you can do this.
Uh-oh.
Um, yeah, because sometimes I'm dumb. Uh, just operating in my own bullshit.
Right.
I don't know if that's a clean podcast or not.
No,
BS.
you're fine.
Um, okay. I mean, but that's the problem. If you're operating in your own bullshit, you can't see what's actually going on. So I said it, and she said something that kind of stopped me in my tracks. It was like, something to the effect of like, I didn't realize we were in a transaction like that.
Mm.
And what it kind of paused me to look at was I've transactionalized my marriage.
Mm.
In fact, I pretty much transactionalized every relationship in my life out of this performance game. Okay, since I have to perform, and I don't want to do some of these things, but I have to keep you happy, or to keep them happy, or to keep this happy, or to keep this going on, trying to buy love essentially, then I'd have to keep tallies, right? And this is what you'll find when someone keeps tallies like that, it's usually a transactionalized relationship as a function of trying to buy the love they feel like they missed out on. And
Wow. Yeah.
that was my pivotal moment of wow, okay, I have like that's a what have I done?
Yeah.
I love this person. I don't want to make them feel like they're only of value in this scenario and not in value in this scenario. And that was the first time I woke up to it. And then I started just kind of noticing, like, damn, like this is kind of like a routine. So I did
Yeah.
something I think most people don't do,
Well,
which is I asked the question of why, but from curiosity. Go ahead.
okay. No, that's fine. And what was the response when that shift happened for you?
What do you mean when
As
from
far as
her?
yeah.
Um, well, when she said that, I kind of got stopped in my tracks of like, okay, oh, but while I was aware, this is, I think, another problem with some of what we, coaching in general, let's say. So I became aware of the problem. Oh, I've transactionalized my relationship. Cool. What do I do about that? And that took me a long time to figure out because I didn't realize the root of the issue. And the root of the issue was that I'm trying to buy love, trying to buy the safety that I didn't feel like I had as a kid. And the component of what dictates safety inside of that space for me was the emotional aspect. Okay, you're doing good. I'm proud of you. What do you need from me? Let me give you a hug, like that kind of stuff, right? So when I'd say, hey, so what's going on? Like speaking from experience, I go, hey, so, how do you feel about how I'm showing? And I'm feeling really good, right? Like I'm feeling like I'm doing things well. How do you feel like I'm showing up as a husband? And she go, well, and then list out some things. And then it was like, uh-oh, I wasn't expecting you to say that. Now I got to go into defense mode because here's all the things, here's my actual argument in my case of all the things that I'm doing well. And she goes, oh, I trained her that those conversations weren't safe.
Mm.
For the most part, you'll find that women in life, if you say to them, hey, so tell me the truth about how you feel about us, and they go, well, it's good. You've trained them to not tell you the truth.
Right.
And that's what happened. I trained her not to tell the truth because it wasn't safe. It was like playing a game of Minesweeper, but there wasn't any indication of where the mines might be. So she just step on one and psh, and then eventually she learned to shut down.
Mm.
And then I would get mad at the shutting down, going, well, look at the world I provide, and look at what I do, and look at how hard I work, and look at the income I make. But that wasn't what she mattered. That wasn't what mattered to her. It was the connection and the presence. How this ties in to Dad Podcast, that's exactly the same for kids. Kids don't care how much money you make. They don't care if you can afford a yacht. They care about you being there. They care about
Mm.
feeling that they can come to you and connect with you and that they're safe with you. So if I'm busy making a ton of money and I'm not there for them, or I use the fact that I'm making a ton of money to be absent, the kids don't care about the money. They don't care ultimately about the trip to Disney. They're going to remember dad wasn't really there all that much.
Yeah. I know individuals now that when you say that, I know individuals now that have older kids that uh, and I know them personally that have older kids that have spent the majority of their lives, their kids' lives as they were growing up, out, you know, trying to get the next dollar.
Yeah.
And even, maybe they're financially independent now, but now their kids are in their 20s and they don't have that real connection with their dad because he was always gone when they were growing up. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you might have all this money, dad, but we don't really have a real good connection. You don't really know who I am because you weren't around as I was growing up.
Yep.
And it can be true for the husband and the wife too. I mean, they go through
Well,
their
a lot of
lives.
divorces are because of that.
Yeah,
A lot of
they
divorces are your work is your first marriage and I'm your second, and I'm tired of being left on the sidelines. And then the argument from the husband is, "What do you mean? I'm doing this for us. I'm building this empire for us. I'm growing." And it's not that either person's wrong. It's a mismatch of communication. There's just not alignment, right? And
right,
it turns into this defense game. It's true. Like I work hard trying to make money for my family and trying to provide for my family. And it's also true that if I do that enough, and when I actually have time with the family, check out because I'm exhausted, I'm robbing them of my presence. Both of
mm,
those things can be true and not be a judgment on a person. It's just what are you going to do about that? Right? Because you
yeah,
don't have a choice. Like you can't generally not work. It's a function of society. And it does impact your family when you're not present. Those two things are truths together. So, since they're truths together and you can't avoid them, how do you manage them together? This work-life balance stuff is bullshit.
right,
Work is life. They're together. So, since you can't like separate them, how do you manage them? And I think that's what when you're stuck in especially that performance mode, it's really hard to manage that.
yeah. It's interesting, work-life balance. I always love it when people refer to work-life balance. There's no
Yep.
such thing as balance. When you're focused on one thing, the other things are out of balance, period.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're working, you're focused on work, guess what? Your home life is not balanced with your work.
Yep.
So if you're focused on family, and you're 100% dialed in on your family, guess what? Your work is not balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, the work-life balance thing, I have never believed in that system. And
No.
I will say this, I will say from an aspect of being present and being able to provide, there are ways to do both. There are ways
Yes.
that you can be a great provider for your family, and you can also be a person for your family that is very present. And
Yep.
it's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, that I wanted to help dads figure that out because I'm living proof of it. I've worked and provided for
Yep.
my family and I've been present. My boys, I know that when I go to meet my heavenly Father, if you were to ask my boys what's one thing you really appreciated about your dad, I know that they would say he was always there. He was always around. He was always with me. I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I missed something of theirs for one reason or another. I was always there. I
Yeah.
was always coaching. I was always at their parent teacher conferences. I was always at their open houses. I was always on their field trips. I was always there. And I attribute that to how I was raised. My parents love them to death, but my parents were those parents that were never there. And I didn't want that for my
Yeah.
boys growing up. So it's kind of along those lines, as far as, yeah, you can have, you're not balanced, no, but you can have both. You can do both things and be successful at both things. You just have to learn
Yep.
how. And that
Yeah.
learning process is
Predominantly,
difficult.
it is definitely, well, yeah, it's interesting because it's simple, but it's not easy,
Right.
right? It's the realization that for the most part, humans, even, I mean, women are a little better at it, but for the most part, humans are unable to multitask, that's one of the key functions of it. So a lot of times what I've found, especially with some of the men that I work with in some of these capacities and in the financial world, is that people will try to like, especially nowadays where everything's on your phone and the phone's in front of you all the time. People just try to multitask every single aspect of their life. Well, cool. Problem is you can't actually be present in any of it when you're doing that. So a lot of times, what I find is, like a man will be worried about a big deal, or I remember this when I was a really like a commission-based finance guy with my first wife because I had to go around once before I figured it out. Um, we'd be at like an event and I'd be on my phone thinking about, oh, I hope they email me back so I can make sure like we got to schedule that meeting to get that case open to make sure that and so I'm there with her. We're physically in the same environment, but mentally I'm with work. I'm dealing with money. I'm focused on an issue, and that's the piece that I think a lot of men in particular get misconstrued or collapse is you physically being there is not the same as you being present while you're there.
Right.
I would imagine most kids would prefer less time with their dad, but fully present and engaged, than more time of half-ass show up.
Right. No,
And
100%.
that's the part that's hard because that's not calendar management, that's self-management. When people say something like they have time management issues, there is no such thing as time management issues. Time is relative. We know this. Einstein proved this. If I'm in a black hole, time's going to be different for me than us here on Earth. But everybody here on Earth experiences time the same way. We all have the same amount of time. So it's never a time management issue. It's always a person management issue, a self management issue.
Mhm.
Because if time was the case, we wouldn't have someone who's almost a trillionaire that runs multiple companies. You wouldn't have someone that is a billionaire with real estate that runs multiple real estate firms. It just wouldn't happen because they wouldn't have the time for it. So the fact that those people exist proves, like without a shadow of a doubt, that it can be done. It's just to what degree are we willing to make it happen?
Right.
And I don't care about being a billionaire. It'd be cool, sure. But what I do care about is being able to be effective in my life and work, like be fully present here with you, full conversation, not thinking about anything else, not thinking about the next person I've got to talk to, not thinking about the coaching clients I've got, just here with you. And then when I'm done with you, I'm going to go and be fully present with my family. And that's the game. So one of the ways I've found to do that, besides if you're not going to hire a coach, which everybody probably should hire a coach for something like that. If you're not, though, one of the most powerful questions to start asking yourself is, where am I right now?
Mhm.
Right? You're with your family. Where am I right now? Oh, I'm at work mentally. Okay, reshift focus.
Mhm.
Right, where am I right now? Well, I'm at work and I'm thinking about like, the food and, dreading a client situation tomorrow. Well, that's tomorrow. Deal with what's going on right now.
Mhm.
Right. And that's one of the best ways I've found to kind of like gut check myself.
Yeah. It's an important lesson that we can learn from. when it comes to raising our kids, that, you know, we see that we might always think we're being present, but in that example I shared with you earlier, where, the kid wants to talk to his dad and his dad's on his phone. I mean,
Yep.
obviously yeah, you may be present, but you're not present. You're disconnected from what your kid's trying to tell you. Uh, and it's something that we need to learn from as parents that, yeah, there's a difference between being present and being present, right? So
Yep.
I think with my boys, there was always times, you're not going to be perfect. We're going
No,
to
of
be
course not.
human. We're going to make mistakes. You're not
I
going to
would
be
say
perfect.
the game's not perfection. The game
No,
is improvement, expansion, right?
right.
Right.
Right. And so I'm sure there are plenty of times where I thought I was being present and I wasn't. And not that I can think of any off the top of my head, but
No.
I'm sure
No,
there
yeah.
were. But one of the things that I can say is that when I was dialed in to whatever it was that I was looking at or focused on, I was dialed in. And I want to say that when I was with my boys, I was dialed in. But like I said, we're human. We make mistakes. I'm sure there are plenty of
Yeah.
times where I wasn't.
Well, and sometimes we need to I think to a certain degree, now I only have a 3.5-year-old, but sometimes I think we got to let ourselves off the hook just a little bit. And I don't mean like, just don't be present. But I mean, take the significance out of the equation to a certain degree. Like, your kids are people. They're going to come up with whatever they come up with. My parents obviously had no idea that what they were instilling me with what they had to tell me, was a fear of someone taking things from me. That's not on them, right? They did the best they could. Who would like? There's no way you can sit after the fact and go, "Wow, that was a really messed up thing that they did." It's absolutely logical. I'm the one as a kid who made that up. My responsibility isn't the fact that I made it up as a kid. My responsibility is as an adult to evaluate the fact that I made that up, to actually discover it and go, does this serve me? And shift it if it doesn't serve me. Your kids are going to do exactly the same thing. They're not going to be parrots, right? You can be fully present and they might not think you're present enough. Or you might be fully present and you might be annoying them. You're not going to know. So the only game you can play is how you show up. What they do is going to be what they do. You just got to show up, right? And so I think sometimes we can take some of this. I would offer the possibility of taking some of the significance out of, oh, my kid's going to become this way, or I'm going to mess them up, or this or that. It's going to be what it's going to be. You can just control showing up.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think that for the sake of this podcast, this is something that this is a conversation that we could have for hours about
Totally.
different
Yeah.
things. I honestly, I may have to have you back on so we can talk about more stuff because everything that you've talked about that we've shared has been relevant and I think helpful. I want to ask you this
Totally.
for,
Yeah, I'd
for
love
my,
to be back.
yeah, absolutely. My listeners, viewers, if they want to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, what's the best places for them to do that?
Best place. I'm busy, building my Instagram, talking about the masculinity behind money and coaching men to really start to look for themselves, how they're showing up in that space. Again, drawing from my coaching experience as well as my financial background, and like merging the two into a effective identity of what I actually know and can teach. So Instagram is probably the best place, and my handle on that one is at Mr. MR dot Blottenberger, which will put my name in the show notes, right? So they don't have to try to figure out how to spell it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the best place. And then, as far as I'm concerned, I do have a website, but I'm slightly revamping it because originally it was marriage coaching, and then I realized that this really that doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
Um, it felt too generic. Well, generic, but it also felt like that doesn't draw any on my experience around money. And money is ultimately what I'm trying to get to when I say marriage coaching is how you show up in marriage, right? The man's responsibility for how he shows up. And money is one of the greatest mirrors to what it is to be a human. If you ever are curious about how you show up in life, watch how you show up around money. It's almost going to be the same
Hmm.
because money flows through everything.
Hmm.
It's the fabric. I can't think of one decision that isn't indirectly impacted, at least, if not directly, by money. And so from that perspective, it's a really great mirror into how you're showing up, if you're grounded or if you're in chaos, if you're leading or if you're checked out, right? And it stems across the board. I'm sorry, you asked me the details about the how to find me. So that's
Sure.
how to find me is on Instagram. And that's particularly curtailing for that conversation.
All right, great.
Oh, here's the point of me saying that. My point of me
Yeah.
saying that is that one of the things I'm willing to do because I really believe this is my mission, and that what I want to do is support people to discover this, help them, guide them, put them on the right path with my experience. So if someone hears what we've talked about and goes, man, like I could use a conversation about that, of course I coach, right? Of course I get paid to coach, but I'm always open to having a conversation. My personal purpose is that my why I exist is to have people left in a more empowered state, but even by simply having a conversation with me. And that's the game I'm after. So I want people to feel welcome to have a conversation with me and not worry about like they have to work with me as a coach. If
Right.
I can help in just one conversation, I'll do it.
Yeah. Whether it's through the DMs or whatnot. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I will make sure that my team puts everything together in the show notes. So we have all your links and stuff there. They will be able to reach out to people can reach out to you, check out your Instagram or DM, send you an DM if they have questions or anything like that. But Thomas, I am glad you and I met. Thank you very much for being on, sharing your insights, and I appreciate it. And definitely gonna look to possibly having you on again in the future.
awesome. I appreciate it. You're awesome too. This has been great. Thank you for all the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excited for round two.
Right, absolutely. But listen, guys, it's been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend Thomas Blottenberger for being on the show. Listen, you can check out what he's doing in the show notes below. The links are there, so please make sure you go and see what the things that he's into and how maybe he can help you as far as coaching goes and all that kind of stuff. Give him a follow. All those sorts of things are there. And listeners, if you are not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Data. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at daduppodcast. Until next time, everyone, dad up.